With property division, the biggest thing I tell clients is you got to know everything. And in Minnesota, you cannot get divorced without full disclosure of income, assets, and debts. And so a big thing to know is what constitutes your marital estate. There is your marriage date. And then people obviously bring stuff into their marriage, and that's considered non-marital. After your marriage date, everything should be considered marital up until essentially the divorce is filed. And you need to know what's in there. And a lot of times you will find one spouse knows a lot, one spouse doesn't know that much. Now that's not always the case, but we need to figure out what's actually all in the marital estate so that we can divide it fairly and equitably, again, so we can have two households on a fairly equal footing. As far as support agreements go, it's another thing. What income do you have? Sometimes it's fairly straightforward. People get W-2s, they're wage earners, we know exactly how much you make. Business owners, self-employed people that are freelance, a lot of times we got to figure that out some way. And that's the big thing I say is before we can start dividing stuff up and putting this here and putting this there, we just got to know what you have. And that's a big thing that a lawyer knows what tools to use. We've got discovery, we've got subpoenas, we've got depositions if we have to. That's the big recommendation I have is before you start splitting stuff, what do you have? And then in terms of splitting stuff, it's fair and equitable. And as I said, marriage is a partnership. It is the most important partnership under, in the United States and all these states. And there's a confidential relationship there. And so when one party is working more and one party is taking care of the kids, maybe working a little less, that party is still contributing just as much to the marriage and is entitled to as much of the share of the marital estate as the party that works more. And the person that works more, I don't mean to disparage that person either. They're contributing just as much to the marriage too, just in different ways. And we just got to find ways to divide that fairly and equitably. On custody, again, it's a child-focused. We are always child-focused. We are looking at what's best for the child. And my recommendation is to all my clients, what courts want to see is you're putting in the work. You are doing your best for your kids. You're not focused on your own interests. You're not fighting to win a battle with your spouse to prove who was the better person during the marriage. We're not here for winners and losers. No judge is ever going to take your hand and say, you've won the divorce, congratulations. We're looking at what's best for the kids. And, the law says the best interest factors, we want to maximize time for each parent. And who's going to help do that best. And we want to make sure that the kids get a relationship with both sides, and we want what's best for those kids. And so the focus and my recommendations when negotiating this is focus on your kids. What's best for them? If you're moving out of the house, are you moving to a place within the same school district so that the kids continue to go to the same school, live in the same community? Where are you going 30 miles away? Are you maybe taking off a little earlier from work, instead of, working until 5:30, you're working until 4:30, and then after they go down, you're working, which I, of course, have to do now with my kids. So my recommendations are with custody is put in the work. That's what people see. That's what your kids see. To summarize on property division, you got to get full information about your marital estate. You got to know everything that's in the marital estate, and then we're going to try to divide that into a fair and equitable manner so that each party is basically on the same footing. And fair and equitable means different things to different parties. As I said, there's no common family law case. As far as support goes, child support, again, is a fairly, it's formulaic. It's more formulaic than just about anything else in family law. In a lot of ways, we're just taking your income, taking your overnights, we're plugging it into a formula. There are different other factors that can go in. But you have a responsibility to financially support your child. And that's what child support does. Spousal support, it's far less formulaic, and we're looking for a way to, like I said, the disadvantaged spouse is the term we use, but just to put them on a more equal footing. The duration of the spousal maintenance can be different for each party, but we're just trying to find a way to allow a spouse to get on their feet if they weren't in the workforce. There are a lot of factors that go into that. As far as custody goes, my summary, what I always tell my clients is you got to put in the work. You got to show the court, you got to show your kids, you got to show your other spouse. I care about these kids, I'm putting them first, they are my priority. And so I am putting in the work, I am making decisions that are based on their best interests. And that's what I recommend to my clients when we're dealing with parenting time and custody.